Welcome to The First Turn. I'm your host, Hyena, and today, Llama and I are talking about This Week in Warhammer. If you like what you hear, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share, or let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. Alright, let's get to it. Welcome to The First Turn. I'm Hyena.
I'm Llama.
And today we are talking about some Warhammer stuff. This weekend we had Essen Spiel in Germany and the European Golden Daemon report their results for their submissions. Apparently it was pretty decent competition.
Good looking field. It was also Warhammer Day on Saturday, which I guess used to mean a little more, because if you remember, there were a few years where there were no Golden Daemons, and Warhammer Day was like they would do their own kind of in-house painting competition, which felt like Golden Daemon-ish. But then they brought it back, and now we've got this. So Warhammer Day really was only commemorated with, they're doing this 10th anniversary stuff for Age of Sigmar, including the lovely Slaves to Darkness figure, which you've got one already.
Yeah, the commemorative one. Yep, I got one, and I might have a second one on the way.
Mine's still on the way.
I might get another one. I love this model. It's so
great.
Good.
And we've seen that feedback from people. Well, we've had to endure, Age of Sigmar, for those who don't know, the Mortal Realms is our favorite of the settings and the games in the Warhammer universes. You get that like voice, that chorus online whenever there's a dual release like that, a 40K and Age of Sigmar. People are like, Age of Sigmar, who cares? This was not like that. People see this figure and they're like, that looks really good.
Yeah.
And maybe
Smash
it's the
Captain
simplicity.
Where? What jump pad captain? I don't.
And it might be the simplicity of it, where it's like just this chaos champion with a sword and a cape.
It's just an upscaled, fashioned version of the old classic chaos warrior, right?
Yeah.
From old fantasy.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of perfect. It's like there's a risk a lot of the times when you advance a story and you advance an aesthetic and you change it too much, that something is not recognizable as what it used to be anymore. Right? Like, look at the difference between like the Seraphim / Lizardmen, lizard Cold One Riders, right? Compared to the new Agrodons, is what they're called. It's a very big difference. It's evocative, but like that change is big enough where it's like, I don't know. It's not really the same thing. They're so much bigger, whatever. The
details sharper.
I can see where it's coming from, but it's not the same thing. This is a blinged out Chaos Warrior, and like you see that and you're like, yes.
Well, and
that invokes the same feeling I had.
We had that with the Exalted Hero on foot, which looked like that, and this is just like a prettier that.
Yeah.
Which that's not even an old figure, so
actually it's relatively new.
As we talked about Sorcerer, now we have two champions in a row. But no, it's great. Mine should be coming soon. Super excited for it.
I was thinking about using mine as like a Chaos Lord on foot, because the Chaos Lord currently that they have is not
old.
It's not great.
Not good.
Very weird proportions, very weird chunky weapons, not great. I've converted a couple other ones already. I was thinking about using this guy for one of them, but thinking about it, it's like he's kind of he's unassuming, right? He's not as grandiose as a Lord should be.
Nope.
And I had an idea. A lot of other people have done this too. When you get that Scaventide box, there's a lot of duplicate stuff. Like you want a bunch of Liberators, you want a bunch of Prosecutors, the winged guys. You want a lot of Rat Ogres. I know I do. But you don't need 3 Lord Terminus.
No.
You don't need 3 of the Lord Veritans. You don't need that. You don't need 3 questing knights.
Yeah.
Like Night Questers. You don't need those. So you turn them into other things. A lot of people have used the Lord Terminus and replaced his weapon and his head and scraped off some of the Sigmar stuff and made him into a Chaos Lord, because he's big and imposing and big, great weapon. Like, good model to do that with. I might follow suit and do that, the same thing to kind of bolster my leadership.
Well, and we've seen that's what they want the armored warrior side of Slaves to Darkness to be a mockery of, or a mimic of, is Stormcast.
Right.
Very similar to Chaos Marines and regular Marines in 40K, right?
But the interesting thing is it's kind of the opposite way, right? It kind of happened the wrong way around. Is Space Marines came first, they fell to Chaos and became Chaos Space Marines, whereas in the Sigmar setting, Chaos Warriors existed first, and they were fighting against people. right? Like humans, Reichlanders, Empire soldiers that were not able to compete physically
No.
with the Chaos Warriors. And then, Age of Sigmar happens, and then you've got your own Chaos Warriors of Order, your Order Warriors, your Stormcast Eternals.
Yep.
That are very very Chaos Warrior-y, they're gifted by a different god of Order, Sigmar,
Yep.
with boons and stuff, and they turn to lightning, and they can, whatever. It was kind of like the Order's mockery of Chaos Warriors.
Yeah.
Kind of went the other way around, which I think is kind of interesting, as an idea, because people will always say, oh, well, they're just the Space Marines of whatever, and these are the Chaos Space Marines of, it's like, no, it's kind of the other way.
They went the other way.
Yeah.
Chaos was first. There was even an Age of Chaos in the Age of Sigmar. But yeah, they had Spiel and Essen, so the European Gen Con, and Games Workshop has decided 2 years running now, and I think they're continuing, that's where their Golden Daemon's going to be, because even though it's not a miniatures convention, there's enough of a presence there, and I think it's the time of the year. I think that 6-month gap between the two is perfect, and what we saw, people were starting to show their stuff online. And then now, of course, we got the official awards today that we saw. This is Sunday. Incredible event, competition. It's always hard to argue with the trophy winners. You always wonder what didn't make the cut.
Right. Because we've seen, other things that were supposed to be in competition there.
Yeah.
That we just didn't see in those top three. And they're like, wow, how did these ones beat out the ones we saw? Because the ones we saw looked pretty amazing. Yeah. We assumed they would place highly. But when you get to that top 10, like, it's almost like if you can't get your hands on it, any of those top 10 could probably be interchangeable in those top three spots.
And photos only tell you so much. Like, there's two different kinds, right? So you have, aside from the people who are walking around the cases taking photos, which those photos never look good, but you'll get the people who are taking a professional photo of it and posting it on social media.
Like in a light box?
And so the photo's polished, the miniature's polished, the contrast is popping, the blends are smoothed out. It's really, is it as good as that photo? And then you get Games Workshop's photo, which is still the same way they've done it since 2005, where it's like, well, it's with a white backdrop, and you take it from one angle, and so you can't see everything.
Right.
And so it's always really hard to tell if it's as good as it appears. What we do know is the guy who won the Slayer Sword at Adepticon earlier this year, Borja, with his incredible Stormcast Eternal on the big bird, he did another AOS large for Spiel, Golden Daemon. He did Ionis Cryptborn, and he showed it off online before the event. It looks great, but he didn't get top 3 in AOS large.
AOS large, I think, was probably the
that
most,
looks like a stacked
that might
category.
Be the most, AOS single, AOS large were the two best categories, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Necromunda might have been third. Necromunda, the competition, like those models were really, really good.
Yeah.
Old World, I think there were a couple good in those top 3. There were two of them that I think were like exemplary.
Yeah. What's her name? The
Miao Ying.
Looks incredible.
The human version of the Dragon Empress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
And that painter also won AOS large with a Keeper's Secret. Same painter.
Yep. Very similar designs, very similar styles.
The fabric of the same
models.
freehand, yeah. So those of you who haven't seen it yet, go to Warhammer.com or Warhammer Community.
Warhammer-community.
Yeah, and go look at all the winners, and then we're going to see people post them all over Instagram soon and X.
You'll see what we're talking about.
And incredible stuff. Well, the Slayer Sword winner, spoiler, was Albert Moreto Font for his entry into AOS Single, which was a Wizard of Sigmar. And he talked about it a little bit in his post, and it's an incredible piece, by the way, from top to bottom. He did what he always does, where he takes a model that's kind of old and then repurposes it. Mm-hmm. And he uses a lot of GW plastic bits and then connects them with sculpting instead of like basing the whole thing in sculpting, if that makes sense. And I think that's why, which we'll get to that in a second, he was still allowed to enter in the AOS single category, which he has said numerous times is his favorite category. He likes that Age of Sigmar, the setting, well, you can't really say it's that young anymore because it's 10 years old. He likes that it's sort of a wide open fantasy setting, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that it allows a lot of freedom for the artist to interpret what it looks like in various parts of the world. Right. Whereas like in 40K and 30K and everything's so established that it's really hard to break.
If I get the Gilliman model and I paint him green, people are gonna be like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
Like he's an ultramarine, he's blue. Why is he green? That kind of thing. But if I take a named character like Bastian Carthalos, which is the Lord Commander of the Stormcast Eternals, and I paint him silver instead of gold, or I paint him purple,
right,
to be a Celestial Vindicator or whatever,
right,
or teal, whatever color I want to choose for him. People are like, yeah, looks good.
And and the diversity, the sheer diversity in Age of Sigmar is huge because, like we talked about, and we've heard other people talk about, 40K is a lot of like people in robot armor fighting people in robot armor. Mm-hmm. Whether they're Votann or Eldar, Tau, or Space Marines, it's people in robot armor. And in Age of Sigmar, it's like you have one army with the robot armor, and everybody else is just and it's everything is so diverse that it really lets the artist go nuts. And when Albert made that piece that won this year, which was an AOS single, he said he was reminded of like classic fantasy tropes of like a wizard in their tower, and what would that look like? And so he took an old necromancer model, which is plastic.
It might have been the
face,
the battle wizard
kit. That face is from the old necromancer on foot.
Yeah, so the battle wizard kit, which is plastic,
yes,
makes 8 different.
It does.
Winds of Magic wizards.
Yep.
So it's got a ton of bits in there.
Tons.
Because that staff is from that kit. I know that. And I think it's like the Celestial Wizard staff with like it looks like the flat like comet.
Mm-hmm.
That head though is for the Amethyst Wizard from that kit.
Yeah.
Like he got a lot of stuff out of that one old kit, which I think they still sell, by the way.
And then the bits around the library that it was in come from all sorts of kits. But
a lot of it looks like from I think I placed a piece from the Pontifex Zenestra.
Yeah.
The Chariot, like the two guys are carrying the palanquin. There might have been something in there from the Talia Vedra kit, which is the big Manticore.
Yeah.
Like the name character on the Manticore, stuff like that. There's lots of like bits have been sourced from other modern kits to go alongside of this old very Empire wizard, 20-year-old plastic kit.
He did that with his Orc Shaman last year, and he did it with the
High Elf,
the Luminous King, he called it on foot. Yep. So he likes the setting for its wide open, and then he likes to take, like I said, bits from old models and new, connect them with a bit of sculpting or creative conversion, and then take advantage also of the wide open nature of the Mortal Realms. And then it's like his formula, but only he seems to be able to do it quite like he does. And he surprises us every year. The piece comes out and it's like, holy buckets.
And I think we've kind of, in order to keep him in the category, I think he's had to rein himself in a little bit.
I think so.
Because there was a lot of like actual plastic bits
that were
used to create the scene, as opposed to like previous years when it's like, well, I took this old model and I sculpted so much on top of it that it's
unrecognizable.
You can only see 20% of the original model. It's like when you take aluminum foil and wire, and you create a skeleton and you scaped over it with clay.
Right.
You can't say like, well, this is a wire model. It's like no, it's clay. You sculpted it with a skeleton. If you had a skeleton that's an old model and you completely cover it, is it still the same model anymore? I would argue, no, you can't see any of it.
Right. Well, and so
but this one is there's very much of the original model still there. I think he's had to change his method a little bit to still qualify for that category, but it's no different. He's still doing the same thing.
And so what we're talking about with that to qualify for the categories, because there were Games Workshop made some rules adjustments following Adepticon Golden Daemon,
right,
where they were going to kind of limit how much free sculpting you could do and still have it fit into a non-open category.
And I want to say that that's either physically sculpting or digitally sculpting.
Yeah, because there were some people, they got permission to digitally sculpt because we're just in that age. And so while historically people would like, well, I want to hand sculpt because the thing I want to do is not there, so I'm going to take green stuff and milliput and wires. And now that digital is so available, they were allowing people to do that. And we saw it when someone did a Chaos Dwarf riding a Lamassu or whatever, and they fully digitally sculpted it. And it still looked Warhammer, but I think they were starting to see that it's like, well, this still falls into that area where ultimately it's a painting competition, and not everybody can sculpt.
Right.
And so,
or I feel like there's a risk there that you're like dipping into this territory of like, well, someone 3D scanned our existing model,
right?
Printed their own, because I'm talking about the vampire mirror, the reflection
that won the sword, 2 years ago.
I was like, that was 0% GW model,
right?
Someone basically, I'm not gonna say it, pirated that model.
Yeah.
They scanned it and printed their own version of it. And now that file exists somewhere.
It does.
That someone can now fully print that model if, it was distributed or whatever.
Right.
Can now, the old Cato Sicarian, not Cato Sicarians, Cato Bleepus, Cato, whatever the vampire, the Wandering Exile prints, which makes me wonder if that's why they released a new one, by the way, is because they came up with a unit of 3 of them to replace him.
Right.
I wonder if it's like, well, this one is now compromised. We need to stop making it and make a new one.
Could be. I don't know.
Because that's kind of a risk. It's like, well, if you're incentivizing this, of people scanning and upscaling your models or shrinking your models or mirroring them or taking bits of them that they scanned, like, you don't want to incentivize that and open that can of worms,
And so I think, again, they're trying to reward it, the painting competition side, and to show off their models ultimately. So they need people to still use mostly their stuff. And so one of the rules that they talked about is if you are going to sculpt your own model, you still can, but it's going to go in open. And there were a lot of doomsayers out there who were claiming that, if you have so much as a dot of green stuff on your mini, they're going to throw it in open. So now they're limiting what the artist can do. And we were... And I always expect that it's an overreaction when the internet starts doing that, but then it does the rounds and sticks, and then people just start echoing it, like they don't want to go against the grain, or they don't want to remember. And you and I had talked before today's show where we remember 6 years ago, because it was 2019, LVO, the Frontline Gaming, who ran the ITC, made that announcement that they were going to partner with Games Workshop going forward to not only sort of unify the match play rules and missions, but
officially bless the events. They'll be present. They'll help judge.
They'll run it on Warhammer TV.
They'll give you prize support, like all this stuff.
And so that way, and then the ITC points will carry throughout the season so that it's one of the ways you can qualify for the Warhammer World Championships.
Right.
And the Doomsayers came out right away, like within hours of that announcement, all over the internet, saying Games Workshop's going to take over the ITC and Frontline Gaming. You're now not going to be able to have independent tournament organizers or prize support. They're going to literally start drilling into your models or breaking them to check if they're 3D printed. And that stuff did the rounds, and people believed it. Here we are.
I remember at the event itself, people were like, yeah, they're doing it right now.
They're disqualifying a third of the field.
Yeah, a third of the field was disqualified. They're walking around breaking people's models and checking them. And we're like, there's no way they're doing that.
No.
Are you kidding me? And then you look to see how many people got disqualified, and it was one guy for cheating.
Yeah.
For the entire event. It's like, get out of here.
And then, like, time went by, and that was exposed, and people were like, well, they were talking about, there were serious discussions. No, there weren't. Neither Frontline or Games Workshop said they're going to buy each other out.
This was a game of telephone where hearsay and, like, word of mouth got passed along, and it snowballed into a bigger and bigger thing every time it got passed along.
And by the way, here we are 6 years later, and Frontline Gaming's still a thing. The ITC still runs, and Games Workshop is still their own thing. And so they've just made it so now the U.S. Open events that are run by Games Workshop are now a part of the ITC circuit.
Right.
And they get to host the World Championships, which makes sense. It's their games.
But I think to the point you were making with Golden Daemon, though, and it being like overreacting to whatever, the big difference, I think, is Golden Daemon is a painting competition run by Games Workshop.
Yep.
You can't submit a model from what's now
Steamforged or
Games.
Right, or Parabellum or
Atomic Mass. You can't submit a Spider-Man model to the single categories. It's like Games Workshop is specifically running this. What do you need to use to submit into this painting competition? One of their models.
Yeah.
That's not crazy. If it were something where it was an independent tournament and you were bringing third-party models and Games Workshop's like, hey, you're playing our game but you're not using our models, you're disqualified. Tournament organizer disqualify this person. It's like, yeah, that'd be a bad precedent. It'd be a really bad precedent to set.
Yep.
It didn't. It never happened.
Never happened.
But this is their event, and they could absolutely do that if they wanted to. Just throw it out there. They could.
Yes, they could.
But guess what? They're not.
No.
They're making it actually pretty easy to get into the category you still want to get into. Right? Like, there's if you made the model yourself, you probably shouldn't be in the category. Let's stop trying to like game the system a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen this for years where someone will fully sculpt a model and be like, "Hey, I sculpted my own Mephiston." There was a great Mephiston sculpt.
It was
like a 1/6 scale or 1.
It was huge. Yeah.
10th scale. It was enormous. But you know what they didn't try to do? put that into 40K large.
No.
Or something. It's like, no, I sculpted this. It's going to be an open.
Yep.
I made my own thing for this. Daniel Craig.
Kiro Keniev's model at the Crystal Brush.
Crystal Brush, right? If they try to submit that, it's like that clearly goes in the open category.
Yeah.
That's not going into 40K or whatever large.
Yeah.
That'd be insane. That kind of thing. It's very much like up until now it's sort of been an honor system of like you shouldn't be submitting it to a category if you've sculpted a model. There have been a few that have made their way in, kind of skirting the rules that didn't explicitly say yes or no, right? And that's a failure on the part of the system.
Yeah.
And so if we shore that up and we tighten it up and we actually have enforceable rules that are clear and cut, like that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like that's not. I don't see it as a problem. As long as it's not exploited or abused, I think it's fine.
Well, and we saw with this event what it is they meant if people were questioning.
Yep.
Because conversion work is everywhere, and conversions didn't knock people out of these categories. I mean, AOS Large, the Keeper Secrets wasn't converted, but the next two had a lot of conversion work. Yep. They were still in there. Where you see it is in the open competition, the guy who got gold, which was Nicholas Mortensen with his take on Tamerkin. The core of that model is sculpted, and it has bits from other places, but the core of it is hand sculpted. He showed pictures of it on social media, and it's like, so yeah, it's in open. It's incredible, and he won the category, and he got a trophy for it.
On the converse, though, is if they took, because the model's kind of posed sort of like the Ogre Tyrant.
It is, yep.
If he would taken the Ogre Tyrant base model, sculpted a new face on it, and face onto the face and neck,
right,
and like threw on a new weapon, and it's like, this is Tamerkin. I painted him, but all I did was green stuff, sculpted a face. They would have let that into a single, right? Like that would have been fine.
Now the other thing that happens sometimes with the open category is sometimes it's people have multiple entries,
right,
that would kind of fit in the same category, and so they have to throw the other one in open, and you do that with the caveat that you can't be in contention for the sword if you win the open. And
I think it's kind of weird, though, that you can be in contention for getting a high placement, a silver or a gold, even with a duplicate category entry.
Yeah.
But we were looking, the award for the open category is a lot less prestigious. You get like a pin, like a Citadel pin. You don't get a trophy.
You get a plaque.
You get a plaque.
It's a plaque with the Citadel miniatures in bronze, silver, or gold.
Right.
On a wooden, like a cherry wood plaque.
Okay.
So you don't get the demon itself.
Right.
And the other, so it distinguishes the category for one, and then that's also the one that the staff can participate in is the open.
Right.
And so that's fine. And I think that category being sort of its own, because they call it the open competition, I think, even not even the open category, and that is where the sculptors can be rewarded. Because again, as we've said, and we're repeating, it's a painting competition first and foremost.
Right.
They want to showcase their miniatures.
I also wouldn't mind if they did some meta awards, right? That crossed categories, something like best in show for like custom model, or like that kind of thing. Where like if they had a specific technique, this is the best NMM across all categories, the best use of true metallics across all categories, best like some meta categories, right? That could span, and they're not going to give you a demon trophy for it.
No, you get some other one,
but you get something else. Like I'd like to see some stuff like that too. So it's not like you're only aiming for, it's top 3 or nothing. Like you might do something really cool, like best story. Like it could be a single miniature. AOS small, single, but it tells the best story. You have best narrative, whatever. You could even do a better narrative in your single piece than like Diorama did, but it's like the staff's choice of like which one we feel like landed this the best.
Maybe
the most Warhammer model, whatever. Across all, I don't know. Something like that would be kind of cool. So you're not having to like, oh well, I have to get shoehorned into this one specific thing, otherwise I'm in open or whatever. If I wanted to try this cool thing, I think that'd be interesting. It just puts more onus on the judges to do more.
It makes the process even longer than it is.
Maybe they don't need that.
Yeah. It's always hard to say, because you get people who like have their favorite artist / content creator, and they maybe see that artist didn't win, or that artist got like a bronze and got beat out by someone else, and I don't see how they picked that one over. It's like, well, art is a subjective thing, and again, with photos, it's always difficult to tell.
I mean, there's plenty of examples of like immaculate, perfect looking paint jobs that when you see them in person, you're like, oh, you got filtered.
You got filtered hard.
There's plenty of that out there.
You'll see it on Instagram.
I have the other way around, though. I paint really good stuff. When you take a photo of it, it looks like shit. Well, I have the anti-filter.
I see it where it's like these photos are on Instagram or X or wherever people are sharing them, and it's like, the chroma is so much punchier, and the values are wider range, and the contrast at all levels, like texture contrast, color contrast, light and shadow contrast, are huge, incredible volumes, whatever. And then you see it in person. It's not that it looks like worse. I don't like that word. It's like, but it looks so much more desaturated or so much more pastel in person. And it's like, oh, they used the heck out of their camera software or an aftermarket software to kind of make this look like something it didn't.
Right.
And
maybe some of that's not intentional either.
I prefer to look at the pieces in person. It's one of my favorite things to do at a competition is to like look at them.
Yeah.
Because then I can see how it's done. And the judges have that advantage. We always have to remember that the judges not only get to see them in person in a way we can't because we're just walking around looking at glass, but they're getting to remove the model from the case, take it to a light box, look at it under magnification, and they get to see it in a way that we really don't unless you get to visit with that person outside of the competition.
Again, like I said, some of it's intentional, some of it's not. Some of it's deceptive. Some of it's not. Like I could see there, like an Instagram, you need something to appear better than it is because that's your livelihood.
It is.
It makes you wonder why, like, some of the amazing things you see on there, it's like, why isn't this in a competition if it's this good?
Right.
It might be deceptive.
It could be.
The unintentional versions of it are things like, oh, well, you took a photo using a portrait setting. The camera on its own recognized this was a face, and it touched it up to remove imperfections.
Right.
Like, that's not on you as a photographer doing that intentionally, but you end up taking that photo. You're like, wow, that looks really good.
I'm posting it.
I'm posting that. But it's like, well, some of that's not your paint job. Some of that's your camera doing you a favor and making, quote, your face look better.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it is telling when you see it in person and you can confirm with your own eyes that, like, yes, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is, this is something that deserves praise. This is something that should win this category because, again, the photos just don't tell the whole story.
Yeah, and a lot of the fans who aren't attending these events only know it from like the social media photo,
right,
or only know it from the Warhammer community photo, and so they will have their positive or negative thoughts on it. We're going to see, I'm sure in the coming days, you're going to see a number of known people do their Golden Daemon review, but they weren't there, and they're still going to do a review based on, and I say that as we're doing it right now. We were in Essen, but I give the benefit of the doubt. The judges have a super hard job.
Right.
From the post we saw leading up to Golden Daemon for this event, the categories looked stacked. That makes it infinitely harder.
Yeah.
And again, when you get to hold it in person up close and look at it in a way people looking at the cabinets or looking online don't get to, it's hard to know what they saw and what they favored.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've prefaced this a little bit on our own. That's we have a biased, we have a subjective view of it because we only see photos.
Yep.
A lot of what we're judging is like feel, right? Of like idea, of concept, of composition is the things that I need to look at and judge because I can't tell how good the paint job actually was unless I zoom in on the photo.
Yeah.
And that's also still not telling the full story.
Right.
I can say, well, I don't understand why this piece was so highly valued because I don't care for the pose or the idea behind it, or like I would have done this different. Like for example, the gold piece for AOS Large, which was the Keeper of Secrets on like stairs kind of thing.
Asymmetrical stair.
The way the stairs are positioned, the way they're cut in the frame, they don't make sense to me, and it's distracting, right? Like it's a flat slab of stone hanging in the air
over nothing,
holding this 30-foot tall demon who's standing on it, and it's like, why wouldn't that tip? Why wouldn't that break? Why wouldn't he fall? Why? How is this floating here? I mean, maybe there's more scene around it that was cut off because
we only got one angle.
You take a cylinder of the scene, whatever, and it's like there's more stuff holding it up behind it, that is not in scene anymore. because we took a core of it out.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, while I understand that, what you presented to us was something that's nonsense. You know what I mean? A little bit. It's like, that doesn't really make sense to me. That kind of thing. I can judge that and say this is distracting. There's a duel, a bronze duel.
Yep.
Really cool looking duel between a Votan and an orc.
Yeah.
Fighting kind of like on the side, like a vertical battlefield. But there's so much more above them vertically that is just so unnecessary.
It's
to
distracting.
The scene.
It's
a distraction. They almost look like an afterthought to the duel.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like if you cover up the top part, you can see their duel. It's like, cool. If you cover them up, you'd be like, oh, here's a scene of a guy dying up on a battlefield by himself. That's sad.
Yeah.
But it's like this is two different pieces you were trying to combine, and it distracts from what the focus of the actual point you're trying to make, which is the category is duel.
Yeah.
It's not diorama.
Right.
It's duel.
Which people asked for and they were given those back into separate categories.
Yeah.
And you know what? To be fair, that could have actually been the thing. It could have been a base design for one thing, two guys designed for another, and at the end put them together.
Right.
But that could also be why that entrant got bronze and didn't gold or silver, because the two minis themselves in the duel are painted fabulously. The backdrop was so distracting that it was hard to focus on them, and that could be why it got bronze.
Yeah.
The one that won that category, by the way, the Plague Marine and the White Scar going at it, looked great.
I think
all the duels actually looked like proper duels this time.
I think what's funny is that White Scar piece might be better if they had waited 6 months for the actual jet bike White Scar guy to come out, because that bike is just flying through the air.
Yeah.
Which it has wheels. So unless he hit some sick jump right before they took the picture of that, like it's a little like, ooh, like if you converted it to a jump bike, like a jet bike, or you use an actual jet bike from like a new model, like it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
It's still amazing. It's still the composition works. It's still very, very good. But I'm just saying, like there's a point where it's like, well, a little bit, you know. But yeah, like I said, that's what we have to really be able to judge is that kind of stuff. I can't comment. Like we all see the paint jobs. They're all great. All of them.
They're always great.
It's hard to like look at the photo and be like, oh, well, that's probably the paint on this is probably why this one won and this one didn't.
Oh no, that's tough.
I can't say that for sure.
I mean, from the pictures that the Slayer Sword winner shared prior to the event, and then even from their photos, I mean, GW's like kind of boring white background. I really wish they'd do a black background.
Yeah.
But that piece from top to bottom is just flawless. It tells a story in every nook and cranny.
Yep. Like I said, I saw the photos of that piece before the model was put on it. Before the table and like the wizard were on there, and just the bookshelf. If they submitted in AOS small a painted bookshelf, I still think it would have placed. Yeah. It's so good looking.
Yeah, and color wise, he really stayed unified throughout. I mean, he held into the turquoise and then a bunch of earthen tones and cold. It's just remarkable what he came up with for that. I have no problems with that being the sword winner. And, well, shoot, what's that make the streak for Age of Sigmar now?
All of them?
Because that is, it was 11 out of, or no, it was
9 out of 10.
It was, well, if you include, so if we go back to when they first brought Golden Daemon back post-COVID, they were doing it in the UK and North America. But someone went back even farther. They went back to like 2017, and it was like the Slayer Sword winner was like 11 of the last 12 events. Lazarus was the only one that wasn't.
I think you're right. When did Richard Gray's Mortarion?
That was like 2016.
Okay.
And 2015 or 2016. And then it was like ever since it's been an AOS figure, single or large, except for Lazarus.
Skink, Gargant. Was there a Seraphim one besides the Skink?
No. So, but you go all the way back to pre-COVID, and it was like AOS won a few, and then we had the Skink when it came back to North America. We had the Kraken Eater, Gargant. We had King Trug.
Oh, I forgot Trug. Yeah,
we had the Kato.
Yep. The High Elf, Lumineth King.
Lumineth King.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this year we had the Stormcast on the Eagle.
Wargriff. Yeah.
And then now this. It's like AOS has won like 12 of the last 13 swords
But it's one of those things. Like it really is where, like we said, power armor fighting power armor.
Yeah.
It's hard to really branch out in the other systems. Like I think the Saturnine power armor that they did for Horus Heresy is the best example they have.
Well, and someone won that category with it. Yeah,
absolutely. But it's not a sword.
No,
I mean someone's got to win that category of Horus Heresy, and and you're probably going to use the new plastic stuff. Like that's what you do. But those Saturnine Dreadnoughts, Saturnine Terminators look so good.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you need to do to branch off and make something unique and interesting.
Very unique. Yeah.
In that world or in that universe of like kind of samey, right? AOS has all kinds of room to do amazing things and come up with brand new things.
Well, this one,
I feel like even the old world you still have some constrictions. You've got some limits of what you're allowed to do.
Yeah, well, aesthetically, with the exception of the new Cathay stuff,
right?
Aesthetically, the world is much narrower and much more like borrowing from history, right? And speaking of, they just got, by the way, an entire new line of Norskin, which we'll get to that in a minute. But like, I think what Albert has been able to do, has been able to do with Age of Sigmar.
He's capturing feels, is what he's doing.
He is nailing not only the uninhibited imaginative possibilities of the mortal realms. He will also grab very classic fantasy elements and put them in there. And he's only doing one entry per year, as far as I see. But look at that. So the first Slayer sword he won, we should have a disclaimer. He's won 3. Mm-hmm. He's in rarefied air. But the first one he won was in 2006 when he was a youngin'. And back then, it was Wild Westy. It's hard to know what it was that qualified for a sword.
It was also much less stringent competition back then.
And it was far less art-leaning.
Right.
And
yeah.
But then you look at the fact that he came back, and in the last few years, every entry he submitted has won gold.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 of them, 2023 with the Lumineth King, and then this year won the sword. And from the sounds of it, his Orc Shaman was close.
Yeah.
So like that is a guy who is just figuring it out, how to tell a story in his piece and then paint it to the damn nines. And he does it all in one. And like I said, when you're looking around this piece, there's not a square inch of that thing you can find that just isn't fun to look at. Because even this little globe in the bottom right, I haven't seen a globe painted that well on a miniature, and he threw that in as a piece of the terrain, So, I don't know. Everyone go take a look at it. So aside from that, though, what do you think your favorite entry was?
That's a tough one. So of those top, I think it's probably... I do like the aforementioned Saturnine Dreadnought, or Saturnine... Praetor.
Yeah.
He looks really, really good.
I can't remember his Instagram handle, but he's one of my favorite.
I think the gold category for, which might have been the weakest category, unfortunately, this year around, 40K single.
And when has anyone said that? Yeah.
The Kroot Farstrider guy.
I think it looks great.
It was painted so well. Kind of a weak category though. I think there is there's a Dreadnought in 40K large that I thought was amazing.
Oh, the silver, yeah. Freehand all over it.
The freehand gold filigree all-terrain Dreadnought looked phenomenal. I thought that was so good.
Agreed.
Trying to think what else was.
Well, I'll tell you this.
AOS large was very stacked. That was a very good category.
That looks like that would have been a hard category.
That was the one. The Miao Ying was amazing. The Wizard on Foot. That one was so good.
You know what's interesting about AOS large is all 3 of those pieces are great. And then we saw people post online their own entries. Like Borchardt, the guy who won the sword at Adepticon, did another AOS large of Ionis Cryptborn.
Yep.
Didn't top 3
somehow.
And that shows you how deep that category was.
Yep.
Andy Wardle got gold in diorama.
Yeah, that diorama's pretty solid too.
And is that the second in a row that he got diorama?
Yes, because at Adepticon, he did like the thanking your horse
after losing a battle kind of thing.
That one.
And so what he's really, really excelling at again is that storytelling. Because this piece here, where you've got the elf carrying the maiden.
Yep.
And then the composition is interesting because everything points to the right, like the wind's blowing it to the right, and then he cuts it with that eagle or that owl, flying low and to the left.
I think it's a hawk. Some sort of bird.
Its face
I
is
don't
very
know.
owly.
Oh yeah, actually, that I'm zooming in,
But
it's pretty owly.
Beautiful fabric. So he chose a color combination. It's funny is this one feels like cheating anymore. I have my thoughts on it, but when people use that, like, so it's off primary. You use a turquoise instead of a pure blue, and then you use a magenta, but like lighter. That's a little bit white shifted. Is how it's called. And so you're like off primary bit. Instead of blue and pure magenta or blue and red, you're shifting both of them just a little bit.
Right. Still works on like the wheel color theory.
It does. Well, and then the NMM gold is very yellow, right?
Yeah.
So you're off primary is what that is. And like he does that really well. If you remember his Glutos.
Oh God, that was
years
so good.
ago.
I can't believe that didn't win Slayer Sword. That was so good.
Well, and that was up against that Lazarus.
I know.
That was a tough.
So even then, you think about that.
Yeah.
What was probably second place that year for Slayer Sword? Another AOS.
Another
model.
AOS.
Just throw it out there.
Because I know
that was amazing.
one
That was
most people
so
thought could
amazing.
win. And he's done something as far as his fabrics go that's hard to beat. Anyway, that was one of my favorite pieces. And Andy tells great stories.
I think my third thing to point out, well, that one was very, very good.
Necromunda was a strong one.
The Necromunda Gold was
Yeah.
so good. It's kind of a Yakuza / cyberpunk sort of inspired pair of like
really unique.
They're kind of nobles, but crime nobles. It just looked so good. It had the weird bamboo fence, but then in addition to that, you've got actual other like industrial pipe in the scene. Like it's a nice like juxtaposition of like tradition and modernization and like gritty, like dark seedy underbelly. It's like a good mix of all those things.
Yeah, well, in that noble character, you have that incredible floral freehand on the like kimono. You're right, and then it's right next to like water pipe with a gasket on
it.
You know, like with a valve on it.
Yeah.
And then but that's so Necromunda. And the other two are great entries as well. That category, I think those specialist categories people are taking more of an interest in because you have these very characterful models that are small, so they're not massive projects. So you can commit 30, 40 hours to them and really knock them out. I like that. Blood Bowl and Necromunda really looked good. Middle Earth looked good this year. I'm
not as huge a fan of the Middle Earth sort of style, though, because it is kind of a smaller scale.
It is.
It ends up looking a little weird sometimes. Not that any of these entries were weird, but like, I don't know. It's just,
you know what I think? I don't think we see enough artists really attack it.
Right. Yeah. But it's just like kind of like knockoff 40K or just knockoff Warhammer. It's almost what it feels a little bit like.
It does.
You know?
It does. I think all three Old World entries were phenomenal.
The Old World ones?
All three.
Yes, I agree. However, there's still something so striking when like you paint an old model in like with current techniques.
Yeah.
And like apply those to like an old like 30-year-old metal model, which both silver and bronze are, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it's like you did this model justice, but man, I wish you would have chosen a more modern plastic model to do this with.
And the detail
yeah. It's that kind of thing where it's like it's great, it looks good, but
like you made that look better than it could possibly look.
It's like what's the chaos character with the two axes and no neck?
Harry the Hammer?
No. Harry the Hammer was fucking cool.
Wait. Slambo.
Slambo.
Yeah.
When they redesigned Slambo and the original Slambo, people were like, "Oh, I love Slambo." And I'm like, "Are you high? That model is so bad. Maybe it's a nostalgia hit for you, but this model, like, would you take a real look at that model by today's standards? It's like this is not good." No offense to whoever designed that model initially, or had to do the redesign that kind of invoked that model. But like, if you painted it up nowadays and were like submitted to this, like that's so goofy looking. You know, a lot of the old models were kind of like that. Like that troll shaman. He's so tiny. He's like a goblin with an orc head. It's weird.
You know what else? So that third place one that Nils Anderson did, which I think is gorgeous, by the way.
Yes.
That high elf.
Yep.
Talk about like chromatically just punching you in the face. But I want to say something about that tree. And the tree in another entry.
Tree, by the way.
And a tree in another entry. And a tree in another entry.
Yeah.
At every Golden Demon competition for the last 20 years, why does everybody have the tree that is shaped like the top of Bo Peep's stick.
Right. Why?
Like,
Like trees don't grow in the shape of a crescent moon.
no, stop that.
That's odd. It's compositionally good.
It is. It's framing the
But
piece.
you don't need to have the tree trunk do that.
Yeah.
Either. You could have a tree be standing and branches that kind of like do this kind of thing.
Or how about you make a ruined archway?
Sure. Any of the lots of other things can do that. But this specific shaped tree, multiple winners in this Golden Daemon have this exact tree.
I know.
And there was a gold last year that had the exact same tree.
Yeah.
In fact, the one that won this year, one of them, is the exact same piece but mirrored. It's flipped 180 degrees with the same fucking tree and the same marshal heading down a hill. Like, I almost thought that was kind of like...
All that aside, I do think the old world category was strong.
Yeah.
Those three that won were all very good.
I think it's a little interesting, though, that the old world silver, that orc is using an iron jaw staff. It's a little weird to me.
I mean,
it's like, hey, what are you doing?
Both systems cross over a little bit.
What are you doing? What are you doing there, buddy?
Well, he wanted to use superior technology.
Exactly.
And Age of Sigmar
because the staff on that old wizard is really derpy. I think this skull with the smoke is one of the best bits that orcs have in their line. Honestly, it's such a unique, cool thing.
Yeah, you know that Horus Heresy gold winner. That was a very strong piece. That Iron Warriors.
Yep, the Praetor.
I mean,
what I was talking about. Yeah,
jeepers, that looks good. Yeah, everyone go check these out. We could sit here and talk about them, and you can't see it. We'll maybe put some pictures up with the podcast, but go have a look.
Very, very solid, though. I like the face. It's not an actual like Space Marine helmet.
Yeah.
It's like studded, featureless visor kind of thing. It's super good. It really works.
So, in other news, the old world got this nondescript, hardly talked about, didn't do the rounds on social media release.
If you do remember back when we were talking about rumors, though,
yes,
probably about a month ago, we did have rumors of some stuff coming out, and one of the minor like footnotes that wasn't confirmed and was kind of a stretch was an update to Chaos.
Correct.
And in that update, they were saying, oh, it's going to be like monsters for Chaos. There's going to be like a Chaos Dragon and a Mammoth and stuff like that. And they're like, well, who uses Chaos Dragons and Chaos Mammoths? Norska. But we expected that side of things with old Marauders. We didn't expect like more than that.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the announcement wasn't even rumored. It wasn't even leaked. I mean, there are some rumor engines that lead to it. By the way, there are a couple.
Yeah,
that were
but the
revealed.
rumor mongers and everything weren't talking about it.
No one was talking about it, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, hey, here's gonna be a new box set for the what was the Arcane Journal is the rating of the East March or whatever.
Right. What I don't know.
Whatever the zone of the Empire is that was rated by Norska. That's their Arcane Journal's theme. And part of that is new Marauders, new Horsemen, probably new Chieftain, new whatever, like that fully supports a Marauder refresh for Old World.
And by the way, they just dropped the release of it, like the pictures and everything, just in the middle of the week on Warhammer Community.
Out of nowhere. It was wild.
Then it was buried as quick as it was. Yeah. And it was like, this isn't nothing. This was, the box is 20 Marauders, and they showed, by the way, comes with 3 different loadouts. Yep. They can all have weapon and shield, flails, or great weapons.
Yep.
And then the Horsemen, it's 2 different weapon options. And it was like, and the horse come in a box of 10, and the foot soldiers come in a box of 20.
So I will say that every new box I've gotten, though, from the Old World line, it's a little bit of deceptive packaging. Because it is, while it is 20 in a box,
right,
it's the same sprue 4 times.
It is.
So it's really only 5 bodies you're getting 4 times. So you kind of have to be creative to customize if they're not duplicates. And so that makes making a large quantity of soldiers easier, because you're not designing 10 separate guys and then maybe there's 2 sprues, whatever. But I think one of the complaints was actually that just because the natural comparison, right, is to AOS's Marauder release, which was the
Dark Oath, which are also new.
Which is also new. And they're very different design styles, for sure.
They are.
The Marauders that come in Norska are more like Viking in ancestry, kind of that style. The ones from AOS, I feel like, are more Native American. There's a little bit of that inspiration where it's like lots of exposed skin, fur boots, paint your horse, that kind of thing. That style. Lots of hatchets. and like tomahawks, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's kind of what it reminds me of. It's kind of maybe not. That's not the actual inspiration, but that's what it reminds me of. Whereas these guys are like dirty, long-haired, beard, covered in leather.
Norska, 100%.
Very
yeah.
Norska. So it's very, very different aesthetics. One of the complaints I saw was like, well, these models, because they are all so samey, there's only 5 unique body poses. They didn't have the opportunity to really diversify them, especially when they're, more recently they've been trying to do like gender diversity.
Yep.
So like the Marauders from Dark Oath are like about 50% women.
Yep.
There are 100% men in the Norskins. And, you can justify that how you want. You could say, well, maybe the Norskins only sent their men to war.
Yep.
Or something.
That's
whatever.
realistic, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Or whatever you want to do. But I think it's more of a technology / production limitation of them wanting to like quickly produce these models. Just throw 4 of the same sprue of 5 guys into the box and package it. We can't design a female soldier.
What I did see, though, was the sheer amount of weapons.
Yeah.
From the hand weapons, the flails, and the great weapons, and then the shields, and then the heads. There's a lot of variety in there.
Absolutely.
And so this was not a nothing release, though. I mean, it was like, by the way, this is a box set where you get 60 models that are we've never had before. They're all new plastic. Here you go. Just dropped. Like, there was no announcement. There was no teaser. They haven't followed up on it. It just was thrown in there.
It almost makes me wonder if like there was an article prepped and they published it early.
Maybe.
Like, it came out on 10/11. It was supposed to come out on 11/10.
Whoops.
Something like that, because the U.S. versus U.K. European
they flipped the dates.
Date times. Like maybe it just came out literally 29 days early. They didn't mean to do that or something. I don't know.
I mean, for those players, good on you. I guess it adds to the notion I have in my mind that the old world right now is kind of a absurd thought that's subsidized by the profits of their 2 main games, and like. It wasn't insignificant,
right.
That release. That's pretty big. If any army got an update like that. But it brings into question, just like we had the situation a couple weeks ago where it was like people were like, oh, new Gilliman's coming to 40K. Even big content creators like Chapter Master Volrek were claiming that. And then it was like, no, someone saw a 30K one and the Primarchs are going to start being made in plastic.
Right.
Which I think is...
There's the question of like, well, how much crossover, how much customization? Because like I had the thought, I was like, well, I'd buy some of those. And I put them on round bases to be, supplement my Dark Oath.
Alternate to Dark Oath, yep.
I'd buy a unit of 10 Fell Riders from Old World.
If the price is right. But now it makes you wonder when people were talking about, Monsters of Chaos are coming, and people thought that meant for Age of Sigmar. It's like, well, now it could be anything.
Right.
These could be things that are coming to Norska or Warriors of Chaos in Old World.
And I think that was what my conclusion was initially.
Yeah.
It was like Mammoth and Dragon, that's an Old World thing.
It is.
Which is such a disappointment because the Slaves to Darkness army in AOS needs more.
It has no monsters, really.
Right? Like there are synergies for monsters, and there aren't monsters. It's like, how are we supposed to use these monster abilities in the army when there is no monsters?
Because isn't even one of the things the Demon Prince can do? One of the things the Demon Prince can do.
He had a sub faction that's all monsters.
Yeah.
It's like, what monsters?
Yeah.
You cut them all. Yeah. Like there's no Manticore Lord anymore. There's no Chimera. There's no Cockatrice. Like any of those, they all went to Beasts of Chaos and then got cut.
Yep.
There's no
Jabberslaith. No. Yeah.
I guess all you really have is the Slaughter Brute.
Oh, and that's such a
and
derpy
the Mutalith
model.
Vortex
Such a
Beast,
derpy model.
which I think both of those shouldn't even be in Slaves of Darkness. They should be in Blades of Corn and the Disciples of Siege,
respectively. Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's really weird. You've got Demon Prince is a monster. You've got Be'lakor.
What's the guy they sacrifice to in the Dark Oath side?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like the monster.
Yeah.
The big chaos spawn, who's a beast, not a monster.
Not a monster.
I know.
Yeah.
I forget his name right now. I was actually I have a unit of 3 skin wolves that I'd gotten eventually.
Not a thing.
that I eventually gotten from the Games Workshop booth one year, and I was like, oh, they finally have them. I'm going to get some. And they go to Legends that year. That happens to me all the time. Anytime I buy some from Games Workshop, I'm sorry for anyone who also buys that same thing from me or had them, because I have a horrible track record of when I pick up something to do a project with, they immediately get sent to Legends within 6 months.
I only ever had that bad luck when it came to books, and what I mean is, so for Forge World, that would happen. It was like we'd get to a convention that Forge World where Forge World was staged, and they would have the books, and it'd be Horus Heresy or 40K rule books. The big $75 or $80 tomes that were heavy and gold lined, and you're like, cool.
Didn't fit on any bookshelves.
Didn't fit on a bookshelf because they were weird size. And you'd buy it, and then it was like 3 weeks later, they're like, new edition coming out. This is no longer good, or whatever, or rotating it out. And so it was like, well, that was a giant waste. You don't think the guys in the booth knew that before anyway? Yeah. But I haven't had quite that bad luck with models yet. But you end up with like a hunger for a project that's a little offbeat.
Yep.
So you find these old models.
I started converting my wolf rats out of something, and I found the Lord of the Rings wargs. There was a unit of
were a good size
wargs
for it.
Were a good fit for them.
Okay.
And so I had left off their heads, and I sculpted rat faces for them, and tails, and I put on harnesses onto the rat, the wargs and everything. And by the time I was like 2/3 of the way through the project, they went to Legends. No more wolf rats for Clan Mulder anymore. And I was like, well, shit. All right.
Oh, nuts.
I kit bashed a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, and immediately after I did that,
Shaggoth
gone, that kind of thing. Like it's just, there's so many things where I've kit bashed them and done projects, or I've started the project and it's like it's gone immediately. It's like, god damn it. Skin wolves were like that. I think they're going to be my new Wilder Fiends.
Wilder Fiend, that's what it's called.
Yeah, they're going to be my Wilder Fiends. So I got the one Wilder Fiend from the Dark Oath box, which is very unique looking. But,
it is.
But I think with the size base and the size of model, that the wolf rats can absolutely be Wilder Fiends. And if I want to run a bunch of them, then I'll just use those.
Yeah. Well, all of this is kind of to say, weird that a rather hefty amount of models that are new come out without much announcement or fanfare or follow-up. But also, this changes, I think, how we as a community need to look at rumors.
Yeah.
Because they now have 4 main games and not just 2, anything that people see, at least as far as Space Marines or AdMech go, could be for 30K and not 40K.
Right.
Anything people see that's in fantasy that belongs to a human faction or a chaos faction, heck, even an elf faction, could be for Old World and not for Age of Sigmar. So,
I mean, people had the same reaction when they saw the Darkwater box for Warhammer Quest.
Yeah,
you saw that first box art, and people were like, "Oh, that's a dark elf and a Bretonnian knight and a Lady of the Lake, whatever maiden,
right,
and a Bugman Ranger."
Yep,
I see them all. This is an Old World game, and it comes out, and it's like, nope, Age of Sigmar,
100%,
Age of Sigmar.
And then, by the way, when we reveal the knight model, it's like, oh, he's got lightning bolts and Sigmar crest on him.
Like, it's so obvious, yes.
Yeah.
But the artwork was kind of misleading. People were like drawing conclusions from the art, which was great.
It was.
It looked really good because it also had Beastmen on it. They're like, oh, it's Beastmen too. It's got to be Old World. And it's like, no. As we've said before, Beastmen were cut to make way for more expansion into that world. And in this way, right now, we're getting Pestigors, which are the Nurgle-marked Beastmen. And it's like, yeah, I'm not surprised we see them from this game. And I'm not surprised that this is happening. And I'm not surprised people mistook it for this other thing.
And
like, it's a little confusing.
And even people who knew those models, as we talked about last week, even people who realized those models were for Age of Sigmar thought it was for proper and not just a board game. And now we don't know which is true. And
because imagine that happens as they release a 10-man unit of whatever Pestigors and a 20-man unit of cultists for Nurgle, and then they don't get rules in the main game, or they don't get a separate release in the main game, and they're like a temporary thing. Like Destruction, for a very short amount of time, had a war scroll for those little spider gits. Remember those guys from Silver Tower?
Yep.
They were 6-legged spider, 6 feet plus their 2 arms, little spider goblins that had little bows and spears. Well, there was probably going to be some kind of follow-up to that, to follow up like the Spider Clan, whatever.
Spider Fang was the clan.
That kind of thing. Nothing ever happened with those guys.
No.
You know, like there's weird shit like that happens all the time.
And they're pretty sure like the Arachnarok and all that stuff's like kind of going away, right? Yeah. Back to Old World probably. And so it's that way in both directions. And you can also think now, if you're in the Old World, if you've got really old units, they might randomly get updated because this Norska release was just like, here you go.
Yep.
So it's really hard to trust rumors now in terms of which game they're supposed to be for.
I'm still going to, like, if there's a rumor, to me, it doesn't matter too much.
We'll still talk about it.
If it's a cool thing, I'm still probably going to buy it regardless of where it lands.
Oh, yeah, if you can fit it somewhere, sure. Yeah.
But, like, even, like, I've got those Bretonnian foot knights that I thought were cool, and I got them anyway. I'm not going to play Old World. I'm not going to play Bretonia. But they're cool models, and I wanted to put some together, so I went and got it. Whatever.
I guess I should clarify. I don't mean like we can't trust the rumor. It's that because the rumor might be them telling you exactly what they're seeing. It's we don't know which game it's going to go to is the
so
weird
we can't
thing.
be excited, but like, oh man, this army in AOS is going to get this new unit. It's like
might
I'm
not be.
Not sure about that.
Oh, 40K is going to get this new plastic. It's like, well, that might be for Horus Heresy.
Oh, there's these new like jump pack dwarfs that they're getting. Oh shit, I don't know where that's going to be.
No idea. Yeah.
Oh, here's these kind of savage-looking orcs that have these kind of weapons, and they ride these things. It's like, ooh, I don't know. Could be either system.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we had that with the beast snagas, right? Like that was such a curveball.
It was.
I don't know. It's that kind of stuff. It's like it's really hard to land on like where it's actually going to be because there's aesthetic crossovers that you can't be sure.
And to Games Workshop's credit, they are releasing models for all of their games all year long. And so even their own rumor engines, you can look at something and be like, well, that might be a thing for Votann, but you know what? That might be for Necromunda. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So it's just hard to know where.
There's a curveball and say, now Dwarf Prospectors for Necromunda.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Wait, now Dwarf Prospectors for Kill Team. Like,
right, yeah.
And so it's just so hard now to know where it's going to land. That said, I don't know if we've had much new on the rumor front in the last week.
I don't think so.
So we're still kind of waiting for the same payoff.
I think we talked about last week that a little bit further of expansion upon some of the rumors for cities and Skaven. I mean, that was the last we had really heard about anything
new. And so now we're starting to wait for payoffs or more new rumors.
Right, we're getting towards the end of the year. I mean, there should be another reveal event coming up here in a couple weeks.
November. Yeah, the World Championships. Yep. So for those who Games Workshop's official event.
We are assuming there will be a reveal event. They haven't announced anything.
So remember, back when Nova happened in September, and people were like, "Oh, there was a rumor event, and now it's not here." So since it was never officially announced, because Games Workshop likes to make known when their preview events are coming up, but someone did say, we do know there's the one in November. And so far, if you look at their track record this year, Games Workshop at their own major events have done the preview events as well as the one at Adepticon.
Right.
So
again, we're assuming.
Yeah, everyone has said there's one in November. And so that is the World Championship event. I could totally see them being end of calendar year, end of competitive season. It's been a while since a major preview event. I could see at their own World Championship they'll have one.
Right.
They will announce it though. They will announce a preview event's coming. They don't keep that secret from us typically. So we'll see. November's literally right around the corner, and then that'll be a great one to talk about. I'll have sort of my new studio set up right around that time. And
we'll also make a little bit of changes to how we do things.
Yeah.
More on that later.
Yeah, as we get to it. But yeah, then we'll be able to do that event, hopefully cover it. Because that's exciting. I feel like I've been in a preview event drought a little bit.
Too. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry for more.
And what I imagine we'll see there, I doubt anything they'll show us that would be something still coming this year.
Right.
But it might be, hey, here's what's coming 2026. Buckle up.
My one hope is clarification of what's happening with the dwarves in Age of Sigmar.
You've been on that for
years. I want to know. I want to know what's going on.
Is that an army you think you'll collect?
No. But it's so weird that it's like I want some clarification. My next army, if when they release it, will be Shadow Elves.
Okay.
They do a sub faction for because I've already got a pretty big collection of Daughters of Cain models. But if they do a new wing of Daughters of Cain featuring Shadow Elves or a new army with Malarian Shadow Elves.
Oh yeah,
100%.
And a centerpiece for him.
Yeah. That'd be my next one if I do anything.
I could see that. Which, speaking of centerpiece, like I think it's no contest. I mean, we've talked about the variety in Age of Sigmar lending to the painter and to the creative converter and the wide open world to tell stories. When it comes to actual Games Workshop model design, I think you could argue that 9 out of 10 centerpieces, like showstoppers, come from Age of Sigmar, right? Like,
100%.
It's just not even close.
Every army's got one, at least.
You know what's funny is when they just did their event, which was a poll that they involved the community in, they did Miniature of the Decade for Age of Sigmar, because celebrating the 10 years, right? And the models they put up for a vote all 50 of them or whatever they let people choose from were all like, oh, yep.
Just the fact that there was 50 of them to choose from is like, come on, guys. Like that's.
And then when you looked at what ended
record.
up winning or what ended up getting that top 10, it's like I couldn't think of a 40K model that competed with those.
I mean, maybe one of the Demon Primarchs.
Oh, of course. Yeah, Primarchs, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of
but that's
thing.
just it. You have to go to that level of mythos and 40K side. Because I think like the novelty of the Imperial Knights is like worn off. That was a really cool thing when it first dropped. But it's like AOS like centerpiece one after another just is like blows
it's
it
funny
away.
is that like a lot of them are not even like viable.
Oh, to play?
To play.
Yeah.
But they are still in the army and people still love them, right? Like Marathi maybe is the most playable of the centerpieces. She's still really good. But like Alariel...
No, she varies wildly. No pun intended to the wild elves.
Archeon? No, you don't see him on the table. Like maybe Bellicor sometimes, but not a lot anymore.
Well, Bellicor needs a very specific meta where he ends up good.
And so I think that's really funny. Is there are all these centerpieces, and they're all really cool, and people want them for their army when they collect that army, but they don't make it into lists.
Rarely. They're just so expensive. Like Usharon gets played, I guess, but
yeah, I mean he's cheap enough, and he's a force.
But Flesh Eater Courts have a way to play without him.
Yeah.
And Vordry, I guess, same thing. Soul Blights always have a lot of variety.
Yep.
But like, so that winner was Usharon. I don't think that was that surprising because of all the centerpieces in Age of Sigmar that have come out, few have gotten as much love, as much display level paint jobs, as many conversions.
I have 2 of them
as Usharon. I see people who are non-Warhammer people who got that model. Like just an incredible like pose compositionally. You don't need to touch it. Like, and it has such a wonderful array of textures from the fur to the leather to his skin to the metal scepter, like to the stone floor to candles, like everything on it. It just covers so much.
There are skulls. There is like
it's like the type of thing someone would scratch build. Yeah. You know, just remarkable design. And his story's cool. Like just a whole delusion idea. Anyway, so I don't know if we've talked about this in a while. What is on your? I'm in the middle of a big move, but like, what's on your painting table right now?
I picked up a bunch of individual characters recently.
Okay.
Because I'm wanting to gear up and take on another big Skaven project. Because a lot of Skaven stuff came out in the last year. I don't have a lot of it, but I was cooking up some lists, and I kind of want to have the models to play them. And so there's the Christmas box coming out soon, the Battle Force that has a lot of new stuff. With it, I could field technically 4 of the rattling warp blasters chariot guns. I think I might do that list with them.
I have one. Do you want it?
No, I don't. I've got 3 is enough. I think 4th one is a little overkill, but I think
I had bought that, the weapons team kit, and one of the characters because one of the regiments of renown that slaves can play is that.
Yep. I picked up the character that plays with the Warpful Obliterators, which I think are very, very good. I think they fill a role that maybe the rattling guns and the warp fire throwers don't. You know, they aren't required. And so like the list I'm coming up with uses a lot of that stuff in that box. So I kind of want that, but I'm picking I picked up some individual characters. I'm making some like command units for that army I'm cooking up, as well as I picked up my Raven Guard chapter master. I picked up obviously the new Chaos Warrior guy, who I'm going to convert one into something else.
Sure.
Which I think should be an easy conversion because, again, there's a lot of armies that have models ported over from the old world, from fantasy, that just never really got updated. And so we have to get creative with having new plastic versions of them. And a lot of the times it's converting it out of something completely different.
Yeah.
So I want to have a new White King on foot. And I think I'm going to use that guy to accomplish that. So I think with a head swap and a weapon swap and some weathering, it could be a pretty convincing skeleton lord, essentially.
Okay.
So that's what I'm working on.
I've got a few things I'm working on now. But some of it is I'm getting a chance to try out a lot of paint that's about to hit the market. So not as much my personal projects, but those will be available because I'm referring, of course, to the Chimera Velvets and the Shifted Primaries, all of which
are high contrast, high pigment, basically contrast paints.
The Velvet?
Yeah.
So they identify them as an acrylic ink, but
inks. Yeah.
So, but to contrast that with, So I've spent time with acrylic inks, whether they're artist grade or they're like AK Interactive, which are in the glass bottle with the dropper.
India inks. Straight up like calligraphy section of Michaels or whatever.
And there's like Liquitex makes them, and acrylic inks, of course, are high pigment density anyway, but very fluid, right? And typically they're great for using as a filter or making a wash or panel lining. The velvets function quite differently. So anyone who watched the charity stream that was done by Mothership and Voodoo 6 saw me use it on there. But they are so pigment rich that you can... So they stand up on the palette, and you can paint it straight over anything, and that's the color you're going to get. It is going to cover whatever was under it. So very pigment dense, but very fluid. So it's weirder than using like an actual acrylic paint or a full-bodied paint. But then if you dilute them, you can turn them into like a contrast, but you don't have to dilute them much. You dilute them just a pinch, and you get that contrast or speed paint style where now you can tint the whole thing, but allow a little of the pre-highlighting or pre-shade to show through. And now you'll get that more contrast paint effect. So if you want to paint armies with Chimera paint, the velvets do that, and they go through the airbrush like a dream. Then you can dilute them even farther still and use them to tint or shift something in a direction.
Like a glaze or like a wash.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And then you can dilute them and load the brush a very specific way, which I'll try to demonstrate on a video, and then use them to panel line or pin wash. So they are extremely versatile. I almost think they should have called them something other than ink. I mean, maybe that's part of what they're made out of, but they could have called them something like fluid or something, because they have a wide range of application. They take some getting used to, but then once they do, so the Dark Oath Chieftain on horse, or War Chief on horse. Phenomenal model, and he's not played much, I guess, but I took just one of the velvet sets called Gold Leaf and just did some stuff on some different things on him. A piece of gold armor on the horse's shoulder, a dead head hanging as a trophy, some leather on his boot, and then like a strap, and then some fabric. And I only used the colors from that, and then sometimes mixed with a little white. And because it's a pure pigment, you can mix white and not lose the chromatic value. You just change the light and dark value, which is another thing that we've learned over time, or been trained poorly over time when using pre-mixed paints.
Yep.
And just with that, it looks phenomenal, and I'll get some pictures up. But the big thing is like how fast they let you work. So if you are someone looking to paint an army, but to do it a little better than a tabletop standard, I think the velvets really get you in there. And then for anyone doing higher level stuff, you of course can do with this what you can do with anything. They do finish a little satin. So for people who prefer a matte finish, you might want to think about that. So maybe save them for the recesses where satin is really beneficial. Otherwise, you can go over them with like a super matte finish or whatever if you want to knock the shine down. They're a lot of fun, but they're now getting out to people finally. The Kickstarter's been shipped out all over the place, and more people are getting their hands on them. They'll be able to buy them. They can, of course, use our code to get savings. So I'm working on a lot of things at the moment. Hard to pinpoint anything. I'm actually going to paint tonight, I think. But one last thing I wanted to touch on. We saw some data on the post-Battle Scroll release for Age of Sigmar.
Right. Yep.
So version 4.5 or whatever it is. Now, the data is limited because only so many tournaments have happened since that Battle Scroll came out. For example, one of them is Big Wog was shown as the winningest army, but it's actually only played 10 total games.
Right.
Since the Battle Scroll release. So they went 6-4, and so it's a 60% win rate technically.
Yeah, that's not a great data set.
That's not. Everyone else had played like a couple hundred games, and it's a little more accurate. It doesn't look like there's massive outliers. Daughters.
According to my data, a full Dragon army of Stormcast is 100% win rate.
It is.
So I didn't lose a single game with my Dragon army. Like it's
100%
it's
win
not
rate.
Enough data.
But then you get to some where there's more, like when you get like 100 or more games, it's like Daughters of Cain, Caradon Overlord seem to be high right now, 58, 59%. That's a little higher than usually you want to see. On the low end, Maggotkin, Sons of Behemoth, Blades of Corn are at 44, so just below comfortable. Ogre Maw Tribe's way down. They were at like 37.
Yeah, that's rough.
Rumor has it they've got a big update coming.
Yeah, so I hope that'll help.
And even then, Games Workshop looks at data like this, and they might have their own method for tracking, but that won't last. Otherwise, as usual, the game looks like it's in a pretty riotous state.
Solid state, honestly. Like,
what do you think makes Daughters so good right now?
I like maybe one of the things that's going on is some armies are really able to take advantage of some of the battle tactics really easily.
So it might not even be the case that an army on its own is stronger.
Right.
It might be the army works so well with the new tactics, scenarios, etc.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
The few that we're looking at, like Orcs and Daughters, they're very quick armies. They got mobility stuff going on. They can do precision hits. They I don't know. Maybe that's something that they're charge heavy. You know, like I know there were some that are like, you need to charge 3 units at the same time. It's like, well, there's certain armies that just want to go and get in your face that are
and they can do that. Yeah.
Pretty capable of doing that. So maybe stuff like that.
I know there were individual adjustments to things like Caradrons that are supposed to make them a little less powerful, but
some of that stuff helps. I mean, like Caradrons are a little annoying to deal with.
They still are.
But like they're not able to do any of the shenanigans they used to do.
Right.
So they're a little more fair now. So it's better. I mean, it could be terrain stuff is also impacting. You know, these armies can't be shot at because they're quick and they can hop from obscuring to obscuring terrain. Maybe they're able to take advantage of some of those rules.
And then charge before they take too much of a missile fire.
Maybe some of that. So I'm not really sure. So I haven't really analyzed it.
I know when some tournament results come in, it's I think I can count as many tournaments came in, different winner.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there was one recently where it was like Skaven, one that was Cities recently, one that was, I don't know. So
it's such a tight distribution of win rates that anyone on a particular day can roll high by a 3% margin. Someone else rolls
get the right matchup a couple
low
rounds in
by
a row.
3% margin, and all of a sudden you overtake them. Right? That's how it works. Oh, I've got a 55% win rate, and you've got a 60. Yeah, but I hit that 58, and you hit it 57.
Yeah.
You know, it's within the margin of error. So you know, I don't know. It's interesting.
It is.
So
it is.
But what I'm interested right now is actually getting something in my belly
to make sure you're at that 58% fill rate.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Let's eat.
Let's eat.
Thanks for joining. We hope you enjoyed. Follow us for more of our weekly episodes on YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. You can follow myself and Llama on Instagram. We are at Llama Paints Minis and Hyena Paints Minis. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.